something that you guys really need to understand. Most of you probably do your admin, but there are some people who are just not, I don't even know how to log into WordPress admin. Christopher, well,
Thomas,
yes, ma'am.
why? Why would we want to log into our WordPress website?
Well, that's a good question, but from a developer's point of view, it's like, well, that's a silly question.
Yeah.
The admin for your WordPress is where you do everything. It's where you're going to create an article, or where you're going to administrate the article, or where you're going to change a title, where you're going to look at Yoast and see what's going on with whatever SEO that program has found. So it's like, unless you're just going to stare at the front end of your website, you need to get into the administration part. Now, if you've hired somebody that does all that for you, it would be nice if you at least know how to look around. You may not need to know how to change the look of the site, that sort of thing, but at least if you know what needs to be done on the site, you can discuss with your developer what they need to be doing. So if you're not logging into admin, at least you need to know why you would, or what needs to be done in administration. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a forbidden word.
And like Sue Ellen is saying, you need to know in case your developer ghosts you, which is true. There are a lot of developers who just go, I'm not interested in dealing with that person this week, or maybe this month.
Or ever.
Yeah. So you have to be prepared to either take over or at least do some things, or know what you need to do, know what needs to be done in the site, so that if you hired a different developer, you can say, I need you to do blah, 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 which is good, because if it's not done in short time, then you can say, sorry, I'll find somebody else that can actually do the work.
So if I want to go in and remove some stuff from my website,
Yep, same thing. But before you do any of that, and this is for developers and site owners as well, before you decide that you're going to move pages, remove them, delete them, even just rearrange the text on the page, you have to look at what's going on with the page first. What do your analytics show? Do you have a lot of traffic to that page? Not a matter of conversions. Do you have a lot of traffic? Because if it does have a lot of traffic, then it's on your end to make sure that you get the conversions. So don't throw out a page that has a bunch of traffic. It may not be working for you. Page may not be doing its job, but that's back on you. That's a matter of looking at the text, looking at the way that it's written, and whether you're drawing people in. Is there a call to action on the page? That sort of thing. So look at the traffic first before you decide to get rid of any page or change any page.
okay.
So I said I was going to start with some page speed. Now I'm going to put it over here on the other handy dandy monitor. And I'm going to take the site that we're going to log into and put that into PageSpeed Insights here. So let's see here. Before I share that, see if I can. Well, I'll put you all on your best behavior. I was going to say mute everybody, but I think I passed that point.
Stop.
Yes. Who called? Who called? Okay.
I think somebody just forgot they weren't muted. Thomas.
Okay. Okay, then back to PageSpeed Insights, and I'll share the screen. All right, so, oops, shared the wrong one. We want to look at your PageSpeed Insights first to get an idea of what's going on with the page. So can everybody see over here in Chrome that I've got the PageSpeed Insights open? Yes, can you see my screen, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Great. All right, so when you're looking at the PageSpeed Insights, we'll analyze that, and I'll go back while this is warming up. I want to make sure that I know I put these things in the chat the last time that we talked about tools. Has anybody had a chance to, or let me ask it differently. Has anybody not experienced PageSpeed Insights?
I haven't.
Have you, Kevin?
No.
Okay. Anybody else who has not experienced PageSpeed Insights? I know that there are a lot of people who are, okay, Jim has not, Kevin has not, okay. So when you're looking at PageSpeed Insights, you can see that this particular page has a 97% performance. Now there's a bunch of stuff on the page when you go to PageSpeed Insights. The number one reason that you want to use PageSpeed Insights is to find out, one page at a time, how your pages perform. Are they fast? Are they slow? Are they somewhere in between? Whatever that number is, obviously 100 is as fast as you can get. And we don't care about desktop. If you all look, if you can see this screen, this is mobile. We only care about mobile. You have 3 seconds or less. Mobile device users give you up to 3 seconds for a page to load, or they leave. So if you don't want them to leave, you've got to get your pages into the 90s. There are several ways to do it. I'm not going to go into a lot of it right now, but one of them is being on a good server, being on a fast, light speed server. There are 2 hosting companies that I recommend. One is a2hosting.com and the other is greengeeks.com. Those 2 companies use light speed servers, which are really fast. So you can put a pretty big load in your page. Let me say it differently. You could have a site loading in GoDaddy that's in the 50s, move it to a light speed server, and the difference is night and day. Instead of in the 50s, you'll be at least in the 80s. So you'll be close to 90s, and you just do a little bit of tweaking, turn on the cache, and you're probably in the high 90s at that point with a light speed server. GoDaddy, you'll be lucky to ever get it into maybe high 80s. Probably just guessing, but I bet you if you hit 60, you should be surprised that it would get that fast. And that's what goes on with a lot of them. And there are ways to make them faster, even on a slow server, but it can be costly. All right. So when you're looking at the numbers of performance, the 97, you can see that 1.6 seconds and 1.7 seconds is the page speed index. That means that's how fast it's loading for the mobile device. Now, time to be interactive is a little off, 4.1 seconds. So there isn't anything really to be interactive on this page. So if a mobile device hit it, they're not really seeing anything that they need to take any interaction. So by the time that they decide if there was something, because it loads so fast, they go, okay, so now I can do whatever I want to do. If I want to click on an image to get a larger one, okay, I got that. And we can look at what it looks like in a mobile device so that you have an idea of what is a mobile device going to see. They see the stuff at the top in less than a sec or less than 2 seconds. And by the time they scroll a little bit, they're happy, everything works. And this is just a standard WordPress site. I haven't done anything with it. I just threw some images in there. Images and a little bit of text so that we can do things like I'm doing right now, which is testing the speed, and then we'll go to the administration area. And guess I need to check back over here. So if we're at 97 for this page, forgot I wasn't showing you this page. And as mobile device, here's what the mobile device sees. And it's just, like I say, just some silly pictures. That's all that's in here. And a little bit of text, just to give you an idea of how to mess with WordPress. So now, when you're in WordPress up at the top, I usually like to open a second tab so I can go to the same site, but on the administration level. And after the WP/, you can just type in admin, or you can type in WP-admin. Either one will take you to this login page. Now, here comes a question for all of you. How many of you have the login information for your WordPress site? Ruh-roh. Ooh, Houston, we have a big problem there. If you don't have the login for the administration area, there's nothing that you're going to be able to do with the site. You're at the mercy of whoever designed the site. Let's see if I can log in here. What do you do if you are locked out? What do you do if you can't log in to this, to your WordPress site? Let me stop sharing for just a second. We need to address that. Agnes, we have that was in response to, have you done PageSpeed Insights, I'm guessing. So back to being able to log in. A show of hands, thumbs up or reaction button. Who are the people who do not have access to their admin? Okay, so is there, I'm not sure if we're mixed questions or not. How about this question again? Have you logged in? Has everybody here logged in at least once, other than Kevin, because I know he has said that he hasn't, has logged in at least once to their WordPress admin area? Melinda has. Tamara has. Jim has. Anybody who has not ever logged in to administration? Okay, I see there are some people who didn't answer either way. Anybody here that does not have a WordPress website? Agnes? What are you using? Let's see, where is? Hey, everybody's moving around. Have to attend. Okay, T. McFadden, that's fine. Agnes, can you come online?
Yes, hi, how are you? Yes, I'm late with responding. So we have to log into our website's major accounts, everything. So I'm sorry for the misunderstanding.
Oh, so you have logged into your administration?
Yes, yes.
okay.
I'm just typing very slow, sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so anybody else who has not logged into the admin area? Kevin, you said that you had a 404 error. So let's share the screen again. And I'm going to go over here to Go ahead, ask me how I remember that. You can do admin. And there you are. What did you do? Just copy and paste your URL and then type the / after the .com, then admin. And it should be right there. And once you get there, it's going to leave a bunch more stuff in the address bar, but you don't care about that. No, not WP admin, just at the end of the .com. In my site, if you look, the WordPress foundation, the WordPress site is inside of another site. So that's why it's WP /. If I go back, just to make sure that everybody understands what I'm talking about, here's the main site. As a developer, I can put 4 or 5 or half a dozen sites into one as I'm working on things. It's much easier than trying to go, and a lot of times when you're developing, you don't want to develop on the actual domain because there's so much stuff going on, so many things that change all the time, it can hurt SEO. But more than that, it protects the developer and whoever is paying for the development. You're saying, here it is, and make sure that everybody is happy, then you hand it over to them when it's done. Okay, so let's go back over here. And you now know how to log in, correct, Kevin? Except that you may not have the username and password. So there are ways to get in, but in order to access WordPress, and it depends on the hosting company that you're using. GoDaddy does it different. A2 will do it differently. Basically, you'll get into the cPanel. If you can get into the cPanel, you can access anything. Now, of course, you're going to say, what's the cPanel? All right, so let me share again. Let's just say for this particular site, I want to go to the cPanel. So you can see right after the domain name, again, instead of going to admin, I type in cPanel. This is getting into your server. You can control, you can add databases, email addresses, whatever you want to do within your cPanel. You literally can delete the entire site within the cPanel. You can do everything that you need to do. You can be doing it through cPanel. So if you do get locked out, it allows you to access your database. That's really the only way that I know, the easiest way to try to get back into your site if you've been locked out is to go through the database. But I'm not going to go into all the how do you do that today. For anybody who does have that issue, or maybe they're trying to get rid of a developer, or the developer has them over a barrel and doesn't release. If that's the problem, get in touch with me. I can tell you how to get into your site without any problem at all. Okay, so back to tools. Here's the front end again, and here's the back end for this site. Now, one of the things that trying to think of the speed we could do. Well, let me back up. Does everybody understand why you would use the PageSpeed Insight? Okay. Let's look at the results for PageSpeed Insights. And in this instance, it's like, okay, we don't need to worry about performance, but I'm going to take Kevin's site. Don't pick on me, Kevin. Just because it's sitting here. So we're going to test this unknown website and see what's going on. And of course, let's see, I saw you shaking your head. That was Tyrone and Betty Owens. So Betty if you've not ever checked the speed of your site, that's something that's very important. Now, Kevin's isn't bad. That's 87. So chances are he's not blocking mobile devices on his homepage. They will allow it to load. So Kevin, that's a bonus for you today. You've got something going good for you. There are a bunch of other things that you can get from the performance screen, but the main thing that you want to do is the page slow? And I'm going to grab another one. In fact, instead of doing that, does anybody have a website that they want or that they would allow us to check in PageSpeed Insights? So we can see, here's a slow site. Maybe even if Sue Ellen's working on one that she knows is slow, so we can show you why you want to be in PageSpeed Insights. You know, what good does it do for you? It tells you if mobile devices are going to be able to get to your pages. That's the long and short of it. If your pages don't load in the 90s, chances are you're not going to get the mobile devices into your page. Now, 80s, that's close. You might very well have it. Agnes, or, oh yes, Sue Ellen does have one. What do you know? You looked at me funny. Actually, you almost looked like you ignored me, so I wasn't sure if you were going to play with the game here. Okay, so let's go over here and plug in a different one. And it's probably going to tell me it has to. Okay, that's fine. It worked. Change those letters around to be NHRA. Okay, so we're looking at just a random website as far as their one page, which is going to be the home page, and there you go. That is a typical WordPress site. Even without my looking at any of the pages, I can look at it and go, yep, that is pretty typical. 47 means that you've got 6 seconds, double what a mobile device will spend on that page for it to load. But the overall time is 13.3 seconds. So that's 10 seconds over what a mobile device is going to wait to be interactive with that page. Now, there's other information on this page, but I don't want to get you all confused with so much other information. The main thing that I'm trying to get you to understand is you need to look at the speed of your pages for a mobile device using PageSpeed Insights so that you can understand if mobile devices are able to get into that page. Now, we can now circle back to what I was talking about earlier when we first started the meeting. When you have traffic to the page or pages of your site, so you look at your analytics, do you have a lot of traffic to the page? If you do, and you don't have any business, you're not making sales, whether it's product or services. If you're not making sales and you've got a lot of traffic coming to the site, that's because of the content on the page. Or it's because it's too slow. Both of those things have to be addressed before you can expect to get that mobile traffic. So let me stop for just a second. Does everybody understand? Thumbs up or hands raised or ask questions why you're concerned with performance. Kevin, go ahead. Did you have something or you understand? Okay, you understand. Tamara, you understand. Okay. What about the rest of the people? This is like, I'm going to say this is like one of the most important things about your website is to know the page speed. So thumbs up are the people that understand why it's important. Betty, you understand why it's important now? No? Okay, so Houston, we have a problem. Let me get you to unmute there. Go ahead.
I get what you're saying about the speed.
Mhm.
It have a lot to do with if the client is gonna stay on that page and see what's on the page.
Mhm.
And if it's too slow, they're not gonna remain there, they're gonna go on.
Yes,
Okay, so how do I fix that if I have a problem?
okay. That's where you need to start, and it's one of two things. When you have traffic, and this is through your Google Analytics. Do you know how to get to your Google Analytics?
Yes,
Okay. When you go to your Google Analytics, you check to see the amount of traffic, the number of people that come to any one of the pages in your site. And the statistics will show you the traffic to each page. So you look at whatever page that you've tested. Let's just say it's the home page. You've tested the home page and it has this miserable 47 out of 100. There are two things that you have to see and have to check. Is it the speed of the site or is it the content? So let's start with performance in Page Speed Insights. You look at the speed. If it's a 47, you know for a fact that at least one of the problems of the two, whether it's text or speed, you know that the speed is there. It's terrible. That's a problem. So that has to be fixed. Then you can look at the page content to see if the content is not what people expect when they get to the page. Your content, which I don't want to get too much into today because we want to hit the tools. Your content needs to be something that draws the people in, that gives them exactly what they expected when they got to the page. So your service or product, if it's a home page, don't expect a lot because it usually has a lot of things going on. But you want to draw the people in with one subject. Hopefully that's what they came there for. It's an internal page of their site. And they want to see, what are you going to do for me? How are you getting my attention? And this is for each of you, when you go to a website, are you interested in learning about all of the things that that person says or that business says that they can do? Or are you interested in how is that going to work for me? Why am I here? And as the website owner, you need to answer that question. Don't tell them I'm the greatest because I've been around for 50 years and leave it at that. Because that's not what they came for. They want to know, what are you going to do for them? As a web developer, you're going to say, well, I could develop your website. But what's that saying to anybody? Why are you any different than anybody else? What sets you apart from the others? I can tell you all the dirty little secrets that other web developers don't want you to know. I just got your attention, didn't I? Now, if I said that, I did too, Kevin. If I said that in the text on my page, which I have no problem putting that in there, I just haven't done it yet. But if I did that, then people are going to go, oh, I would love to know all that crap. Why this happens and why that happens. Great. Now you brought in, the reason is you want to bring them in, even if you don't make a sale right away. The idea is just like networking. Let them get to know you. Let them understand what you're going to do for them. And when you do that, then they realize, you know what, I'd give this person a chance. And that's exactly what you want to do. Arthur forgot what time it is. Maybe he forgot what day it was. So anyway, getting that page speed. So Betty, does that make a lot more sense? You need to understand that Page Speed Insights because it's so simple to use and it's free. You just plop it in there and see, okay, speed is definitely a problem on my page. Fix that first. One of the ways to fix that, make sure I'm sharing the other screen here. One of the ways to fix it is to get into the back end and look at images, because images, 9 times out of 10, they're what slow the site down the most. Go to your media library and see how big the images are and were they optimized to begin with. So that brings you to another tool. How do you optimize the image? Well, let's go to resize first. When you're looking at a page, you want to know how big should this image be? Should any of the images? Now, in Firefox, there's an easy way for me to do this because I can see this little window that I popped up. Tells me everything on every image on the page. So this one is the correct size because it's not being resized. It'll tell you whether it's been resized next to the image, if it has been. If it's resizing the image, then you know, okay, then there's a problem with the size of the images that I uploaded. And we can go to a different page. And I'll do that. We can go. Let me take that image or take something from this org site. And let's see. I'll do the same thing on this page so that you can see what I'm talking about. Here's the little pop-up from Firefox. Go to media. And let's check the images. All right, here's one case in point, 1024. It's not that far off, but you can see that it has been scaled, which means that it's making it smaller. If the image were actually, say, 100 pixels or more off, that's something that really slows down the site. Now, this one's not that far off. We're looking at less than 10 pixels each way. 1 on the height and less than 10 on the width. So it's not bad, but it can be improved. Let's see about any of the others. 643 by 828 is the size that it appears, and its original size was larger. That's really basically all you're looking for. If it's 2 or 3 pixels, that's one thing. If it's more than that, every pixel you can shave off is going to save speed time. So get that picture the size it should be. That one is correct because that's a small one. That's correct. There's another one. Well, 10 pixels too, so it's not far off. But like I said, it can make a difference when you get into numbers that are far apart. This one is a little bit further apart, 643 by instead of 700 and 73. So that one needs some work. You can save some time by shaving that one down to the proper size. And there's another one. That's a significant difference. 1024 by 415, and it is scaled to 643 by 261. That's a big difference. So that one is going to definitely slow the page down. And if you've got 8 or 10 pictures and each of them on the page has this same problem and it's being scaled down, that's number one to fix. Fix those images so that they are uploaded the size that you need and the size that is shown on the page, not some huge image that you just say, let the browser resize it. That's what makes it the page load so slow, is because you're expecting the browser to resize that image for you. Don't do that. And there's another one doing the same thing. So resize the images before they're uploaded. And there's another one. So you can see that there are reasons that can be fixed just through the images. And there's another one, too big for what's being displayed. Associated text has got some language, I have no idea. That's interesting. It's an Asian language. Okay. So there's not a lot of the images, but there are enough that it would make a significant difference if they're all sized properly. And that would be the end of them. Okay, so let me stop share on that point. Questions about those images? Site's performance is an 87. My problem is the content, not necessarily. The 87 still needs to come up a little bit. If you're looking, when you look at your Google Analytics and you see the traffic to the pages, you'll see how much time each individual spent on the page. You'll see the average time that users spend on the page. That's an indicator right there. If they spend 10, 15 seconds on the page, then your speed is not a problem. The people are fine. It's the content itself that's not drawing them in. People are taking 15, 20 seconds to finally just go, yeah, no, thanks. Didn't answer my question. Didn't really lift my skirt. So, yeah. But if you have both, if you have the traffic and they're not staying and the speed is slow, you don't know if the text is the problem until you address the images first. So address what you know is a problem, then look at your analytics and see, okay, I see that there's some other stuff that needs to be addressed also. And one of the image tools, I'll show you all right. I like to use Paint, and every developer uses a different image editing software that they prefer. I like simple, and of course we all like free. And if I can find my image. Doesn't want me to show my, that's interesting. Okay. Oh. Let me stop sharing for a second. There we go. All right. So hopefully it will pick it up. But I like Paint, and you can find it at, let me go to the site here. Get rid of that. And I'll put this into the chat. Simple, simple, simple. It's free, it's simple, it does everything that you could want. If you're really into images, you're a photographer or something along those lines, you're going to want something that does more, maybe Photoshop or something like that. But I can do pretty much anything that I want to do with an image just using Paint. That's getpaint.net. If you all look in the chat, you'll see the link that I put in there. But it's a really simple program. Installs quick, they update it all the time. And if you want to manipulate something, then you can do that. I'm trying to figure out why I'm not sure. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is Paint. It doesn't have a tremendous amount of bells and whistles, but if you think about it, you don't need a lot of bells and whistles. You want to import an image or just open an image. Then you've got your image and you want to resize the image. Up here at the top under image, go to resize. What size would you like it to be? I always tell people keep the maintain aspect ratio there. So the original aspect ratio of the image remains the same. You don't do that, your image ends up all messed up because you change one dimension and you didn't change the other. Aspect ratio is important because if you expect that image to resize for mobile devices so that it appears smaller, but it still has the same focus of the image, it has to resize with the aspect ratio correct. The aspect ratio is not correct, then it'll start cutting off parts of the image. But it's real simple to change that size by just going image, resize, and I'm going to make it 800. And you can see when I've got it checked to maintain the aspect ratio, the height is going to match. Now, is this particular image the correct aspect ratio? Don't know, but I know where to find it. I know how to find the right spot because you do want to check that. So from time to time, you are going to look at the aspect ratio. Let's spell it right. This site I just found the other day, it's kind of handy. Now, even though it talks about video, generally speaking, 16:9 is a very common standard aspect ratio. Art, you have a different spin on that. What aspect ratio do you usually use? Isn't it 16:9? I would ask you to be the co-host, but I didn't see in chat. There we go. Sorry.
Depends on where the image is going. You know, if the image is going to the background, 16:9. Or the general image is 4:3 or 3:4 ratio.
Okay. And you can do, that's a custom, but you can go right up here and because he was just saying use a standard. Okay, 4:3. That's a standard. 16:9 is a standard. If you get into something else, you're going to know more than I do, probably more than Art does about the presets and the ratio calculator for whatever stuff that you're working on. But the common ones are 16:9 or 4:3. And when you go with whichever one, let's just say 4:3. Okay, so then a 1280 by 960 would match. That's keeping it at the correct aspect ratio so that it resizes properly. So if we look back over at our image, this image is 800 by 497. Okay, so if we know that, 800 by 497, what's the aspect ratio of that? Aspect ratio. You can plop that in here. So 600 would be correct. And I said we're at 497. So that image is not cropped correctly. Any questions on that part? Because that's pretty important. Okay, Colleen, that's good. You got to take off. Any questions on why you care about the aspect ratio? Or perhaps what do you do if you see that that image is not correct? Quiet group today. Any questions? Kevin, you almost look like you have a question. No? If you got an image. We'll just stay here with this one. We have this image. We already know that it's supposed to be 8x6 in order to be the 4:3. Well, if we went back to the 16:9, that means the image should be 800 by 450. Okay, that's closer to what we have here. So that means I already have 800 wide and I need 450 in height. So if you look at the picture, to me, I look at it and go, okay, I'll take something off the top because I like what I'm seeing in the rest of the image, so I don't want to ruin that. So I just select the area, go up to 450. If you look at the bottom left of my screen, down here where my mouse is, you can see that it's now, what I selected is 800 by 450. Want to verify, and that's what the calculator says is correct. So then I go up to image, crop to selection. Now that image is at the correct ratio. Anybody not understand why I'm doing that? Questions? Kevin, you're frustrated. What's going on? Betty? You have a question?
Why did that matter so much?
There you go. When you have an image in your page, to make a page responsive, it has to be able to resize that image according to a device that's looking at that image. You with me so far?
Yes.
So when a smaller device comes in, let's say you're not on a desktop, and you want that full image to be displayed. Trying to think, let's go to the front end, just like I was showing you here. When I switch to a responsive design, which means I'm now looking at it as if I was looking at it on a mobile phone. This particular one is a Galaxy S10. So this image is much smaller than it was for a desktop. And if I switch back, you can see that the image itself, okay, it must be in the right aspect ratio because I'm not losing either width or height. I see the same thing when I switch to a mobile device. Does that make sense so far?
Not very clear, but I think I'm getting the sense of what you mean.
Okay, so, and don't try to overthink it. The idea is that if it's not in the proper aspect ratio, either the width or the height is going to be cut off. Some part of it is not going to appear.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I can show you one that I know is not working. This is a good example. Let's say you have a slider on the page. Everybody see my page with the background and the slider? Ocean in the background? Kevin, you
The
got it?
ocean, yeah.
All we see is your
Here we go.
editor.
How about now?
Yeah. Now,
Okay, so we know that this looks nice and it's on a desktop. So that slider, these images look nice. Okay, got that. That's the way that they wanted it designed. But let's now go to see what it looks like on a mobile device. Whoa,
oh,
that
small.
picture got cut off. Their feet aren't there. The width is there. We've got a bunch of people who are not in the picture anymore. And of course, the lazy way to say, well, just have people turn their phones. Well, still doesn't work, does it? Because it's not in the proper aspect ratio.
Oh, okay.
So no matter what you do with that image, you're isn't going to make any difference. You could upload it larger, you can upload it smaller, it doesn't make any difference. The aspect ratio is off. Until you fix that, it's not going to appear correctly. And let me also make sure that everybody understands that mobile device users are adamant that they don't turn their phones. It is so simple. I don't know why, but I learned that 6-8 years ago. They just refuse to turn it. If it doesn't show up on my phone this way, I'm too lazy to turn it, so I'm just going to leave it. So you have to make sure to do your work in getting the images. Now, there's another way to do it, which is just don't show that slider to mobile devices. In this case, yeah, that could be done, but that may not be the case with somebody else's website, because it could contain something that they're going, even mobile devices need to be able to see this. Well, then that image needs to be corrected. Now, how does that make sense, Betty?
Yes, it does.
Picture is worth 1,000 words, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So getting the images so that they are the proper size that's displayed and in the correct aspect ratio are going to improve your site performance dramatically. And you can go to an image resizer, you can do a lot of different things, but you need to make sure. Arthur's got a couple of image resizers. And a lot of stuff over here. So you've got all that image, you've got all those things in there. The idea is that you want to make sure that no matter what device that you're viewing the site, that it looks the same. And like I was saying, there are some times that you're going to say, well, this is just so messed up on a mobile device, and it really is unnecessary for the mobile device user. Then fine, just there's usually a tick in whatever that you're using that says, don't show this on a mobile device. So you have that option. But in that, in the development that I showed you, where you could see that that image is way off, so it's not going to work on a mobile device, that particular one needs to be fixed instead of just don't show it to mobile device. Any questions on that stuff so far? We didn't go over a lot, but the stuff that we did go over today was really important. Anybody have questions on just what we've shown you so far? Any questions from Bruce? Haven't been around for a while, Bruce. Now he's ignoring us. That's all right. He's busy training dogs. We have time for a couple of questions if anybody's got them. Thanks, Jim. So we now know why performance and why you want to mess with your images. It's important, it's critical. Any questions about how to figure out what to do with them? And I like that Betty was asking the questions, because I think there are a lot of people who are afraid to ask. But if we get that aha moment for somebody who is just not a developer at all, that means that everybody should be able to figure that out. And I know Sue Ellen's a developer, so she's kind of going, oh yeah, oh, didn't see that. A lot of things that you can do that you need to check on these images and speed of the site. Everything is mobile today. Everything is making sure that you're rolling out a red carpet for a mobile device. If it's the other way around and you do it for a desktop, well, 70% of your business has just been told, I don't care about you. Because there are mobile devices make up about 70% of all searches in the search engines. So we can't just shrug our shoulders and say, don't care about mobile devices. Good to know you're here, Bruce. Good to know you're back. Mr. Raised Hand. Go ahead, Kevin. Except I have to ask you to unmute again.
Okay, so I put in the chat, if you could go through the steps again to resize a picture in Paint.
Okay. Resizing an image. Just so happens I can also go back to what it was.
Because I'll tell you, I tried to use Paint before
Mhm.
and I wound up with bigger pixels. So obviously I did something in reverse.
Not necessarily. There are times when you go through the process, and I know that I say this a lot about SEO, but this is part of SEO. This is also an experiment. There's no guarantee that WebP is always going to be smaller. So make it, get in the habit of trying to make everything a WebP type of image. But the smaller the image, I have found that WebP, when it gets down to X small size, it doesn't save as much as a JPEG. And PNG, even though that's a better format too, WebP is always the best. But if the PNG is the smallest, then use that. So I would go through a process of start with a JPEG. Great, I'm going to make a PNG and a WebP of the exact same size. See which one has less image. But if you do that before you resize the image, you've still got to check after you resize and compare which one has the least amount of information. Because it could turn out that the JPEG will have the smallest amount of information in it. Does that make sense, Kevin?
Right now, I think so.
Okay, so let me show you. I'll share this. When I said that I do that, I really do. You can see there's a bunch of images here that are the exact same image. One is 800, but these are the same because one is a JPEG. Then I got another one, it's a WebP. And I've got even in PNG. So I will save them at the exact same size to see, which one has the least amount of information.
What do you mean by least amount of information?
The size. They call it size of an image. That doesn't mean the dimensions. Dimensions usually will appear like this. Okay, it's 800 by 325, and it's 157 KB. Well, at JPEG, shouldn't a WebP be smaller? Doesn't necessarily, because this is, well, here's the right way to do it. Same dimensions, and just a little bit smaller. So I've got the JPEG is 157, the WebP is 121 at the exact same dimensions. That's what you're trying to do.
And so you should use the one that you're on right now?
Yes, and that happens to be the WebP, but it could just as easily have turned out to be the JPEG was smaller. Let's see, this one is 12. That's 1180. Okay, so here's another one, 1180 by 480. The JPEG is 172. The WebP, exact same dimensions, is 235. So I would use the JPEG.
Okay.
So just because the WebP is the preferred format for the image, I'm looking at performance and I want the least amount of information, the least size, the smallest size in that image so that the page loads fast. And when we talk about this size, it's how many pixels are in that image is really what it comes down to. They're the same dimensions in the JPEG and the WebP, but the WebP has more information, more pixels in it. So I would choose the JPEG. Are you going to see the difference visually? Nope.
If I'm resizing in Paint, is WebP and JPEG, are those all extensions available? Okay.
Over here to Paint. And if I just take this image and say, I'm going to save as, you have all of these selections. So you decide, because you're going to go, I have no idea what half of that stuff is. Here's WebP. And then you've got JPEG and PNG.
Yep.
And the old format was bitmap. There's still a use for it. You could make it a GIF. That's really old and you don't usually save anything. It's usually saved for animations. But you can make animated images with Paint. Cursors. You can make animated cursors or a standard cursor. Animated PNG. You can even save it as a Photoshop file in case you've got Photoshop and you want to import that, but you, for whatever reason, made it in Paint. So you can make the fave icons as well and cursors. So you decide what kind of an image that you want to create. That's why I say it looks really simplistic. It looks like it's not going to do much of anything, but the more you use it, you go, this thing does a lot more than I'm ever going to do.
And once you get the pixels at the right ratio that you need, then you just save it in all three. Well, I'm going to say three, PNG, JPEG, and WebP to see which one has the least amount of footprint.
Once you know that you've got the correct aspect ratio and the correct dimensions for wherever you're going to put it, then save it as the three different types, PNG, JPEG, and WebP. I wouldn't waste your time on anything else. Compare the information. So the size of each of the image, not dimensions, but the size that comes up when you hold your mouse over the image. And whichever one is smallest, that's the one to use. No matter what anything says, even if you go back to PageSpeed Insights and it says you should use a web page format, well, it's bigger, so I'm not going to. It's okay to override what's being told to you. This is more acceptable. If you know that the dimensions are correct and the aspect ratio is correct, and you've put it into the site and you're looking at it and you're happy because now it appears correctly and I can see it on a mobile device and it appears just exactly the way it's supposed to, I don't care what this PageSpeed Insights is telling me.
Right. Okay.
It's always going to say you should use the most current format. Yeah, but most current format's going to slow down my page, so I'm not gonna.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Any other questions? Yes. Sorry. Try it again.
I said I have to go to another meeting, but
Oh,
this,
okay.
this was wonderful information. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Anybody else have questions as we're on our way out? And I see a bunch of stuff in the chat.